Welcome back to Life Begins podcast. I'm Grace.
And I'm Shell.
Yeah, we're here. I'm a little deliriously tired, but if you are watching, because we put this out on IGTV, Facebook Watch, and YouTube, and if you're not one for watching podcasts, then listen. You can listen to the podcast as well. So if you're thinking, I've got the time, I've got things to do, I've got some ironing on, then put it on, and we've got the link for pod follow under all the descriptions of the video, or you can just go on YouTube and anyway, pod follow is audio.
Or your favourite podcast app.
That's what, there we go. But yeah, we're back and welcome. Nice to see you. It's been a while. How are you doing, Shell?
I'm doing well, thanks, Grace. I don't know where that week has gone, really, because we're not normally weekly, so it just feels like I spoke to you yesterday. But yeah, it's been a good week for me. How about you?
Yeah. We were just into, still lockdown life. Must admit, actually, with the weather changing, it's a bit, not changing dramatically, but it's colder and it's darker. Like, oh. But I know it was a bit like yesterday. I went for a walk and it's like I've got to walk before 3:30 because otherwise it will be dark. And I thought, that's not cool. I was like, oh, that's a bit sad. That's a little bit sad, but I cheered myself back up. I'm all right.
Yeah.
I'm good. I mustn't grumble, even though I just yeah. Oh dear, my mum. Almost got just the rude to cut your mum off. She just yeah. So what's on the agenda today, Shell? What's our agenda?
Yeah, well, in quite a lot of previous episodes, we've said, we're going to talk about dreams and goals and things like that. And so I was thinking about this and I thought, before we started this podcast, for me, dreams and goals were just sort of an annual event, So around this time of year, I'd be thinking up some generic New Year's resolutions, which were usually the same ones, broken before the end of January, to do with, fitness and sleep and things like that. And also I used to sort of come up with a list of things for the coming year that I'd like to do or places I'd like to go. And I wouldn't really look at that list throughout the year. Like occasionally, maybe I'd look at the end of the year and actually find that maybe because I actually had at least written it down, it sort of gave me some intention to do some of those things. So I probably, found like, oh yeah, I did try paddle boarding, tick. I did, go to Scotland, tick, things like that. And then when we started doing our podcast, because we live in different cities, so until March this year, we were meeting up once a month, either in Birmingham or London, and we'd devote a whole weekend to the podcast, and most of the time would be spent on the podcast. But we got into a bit of a routine, didn't we?
I miss it.
Yeah.
I
really miss it. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Where am I going? What's my purpose? But it was good because we actually just got into regularly speaking about dreams and setting goals, and you sent me a couple of really great videos on producing a vision board and also about journaling, which I haven't sort of got fully into, but I think having those really regular conversations did like a few things. Like it actually gave me more confidence to actually sort of say some of those dreams out loud, and to put them on paper, whether that's written or in images, and it also made me feel that that anything is possible, and to dream big, just not confine your dreams to something that's very practical. And I think part of that, I think, was just doing that so regularly that it became normal. And also seeing some of your vision board like popping off the page into reality. And I know your vision board is like personal to you, but if you don't mind me just, you know, saying that I was listening to the radio this morning, listening to Grace's very own breakfast show on BBC WM. It is bonkers, but in a really good way. So, you know, with whatever you're comfortable to share, like, tell me your experience of using vision boards and journaling about your dreams.
Yeah, okay. First of all, I'm so glad of what you said, because actually you articulated it better than me, that I was going to articulate about the power of being with the right people to talk about that with, because you have been absolutely like instrumental in, that makes it sound like you're a tool, but you know what I mean, like so key to helping me to dream, and I hope I am for you as well. But because they say as well, isn't it, like if you tell your dreams to the wrong people, they can die in you. Because if you say like, hey,
so true,
I want to be an astronaut, and they're like, girl, no, do you know what I mean? And then you're just like, oh, maybe not, that was silly, do you know what I mean? But you have never been like that at all, and that's great. You're like good soil to grow dreams in. And you know, I wouldn't necessarily say that to lots of people. I haven't shared my dreams with lots of people, and I think mainly because when we were thinking about this, like talking about dreams and goals, and it makes me realize, because again, another thing you said was about every year and like a New Year's resolution thing, and it's much bigger than that, because I think one of the things that why a lot of people don't dream is because they don't know what they want, and I include myself in that. Like, I think for a long time I didn't know what I want, and if you don't, you know, because some people say like, oh, from when I was little I dreamed I'd do X, Y and Z, like I do want to grow up to be an astronaut, and everything has been put in place, do you know what I mean? They've taken the right exams, they've passed them, they've been in the right place the right time, they've done it. But I think a lot of people don't have that, and
or they've buried it.
exactly, because I definitely had buried mine, because tell a story, so chip in, Shell, because you're in the story anyway. I think for me, like a key pivotal time to turn things around was 2015 and 2016. But 2015, that was a crap year. So I don't think we have to put a little E sign up for me saying crap.
Warning.
Yeah, cover your ears. Just the nicey. But anyway, yeah, but that was not good. It was not good. I felt really, really low. I'd had quite a few rubbish years. Actually, the 2010s is like a decade of two halves. 2010 to 2015, no. And then 2015 onwards kind of really picked up. But yeah, at the end of that year, I had this like word, really, like I was at a time of prayer, and it was weird because I wasn't praying that much that year because I felt rubbish and I was mad at God and life. But then when I did, it was in the middle of the night type thing, and it was like, oh, like dreams. I really felt like, I can't even describe it, but like God was telling me to dream. Do you know what I mean? And it was like, oh right. And I went on a retreat. I listened to a podcast. That was it. All the podcasts I normally listen to, I didn't really want to listen to them. And then someone had posted something by the School of Greatness, which is a podcast by Lewis Howes. It's a big podcast. And it was only a 5-minute one. And it was talking about how you need to find your visions and dreams. And I booked a retreat after that, because that's what I need to do. But I went on the retreat and expecting like a big like sign from God, like you need to do this. And I didn't have that. In fact, everyone just kept telling me to relax, to chill, just to spend time and be with myself. And it was like, no, I've got to do something. So fast forward to 2016, when life started getting really good, actually. And when I went to your flat, and I was using your flat, we talked about this in a previous podcast, in our first video one, for that Hillsong conference. And I was staying at yours, so, you know, because you live in London. And when you picked me up from the station and you said, oh, I've got a surprise for you, and it was like, oh, you know, and I thought it was wine, and it wasn't, but it was that DVD that your dad had made up of us, like, and when we were at uni, just mucking about with a video camera, and that started to really blow my mind, actually. Do you want to share a bit more about that, as I'm talking a lot? So just like, what was
no, Yeah, no, for anyone that doesn't know, we at uni we had a sociology project, and we went a bit off piste and started having fun with a video camera, because those days you didn't have a video camera on your phone, so this was like a novelty toy, really, like a big video camera, and we were just mucking about. We were just having a really great time, and then that day that we rewatched some of that footage, which my dad had dug up, we just realized that we weren't sort of that playful anymore, and we weren't sort of doing anything creative, and we'd sort of forgotten that sort of part of ourselves, I suppose.
Yeah, and if you say that we were off piste, I don't actually remember being off piste with that.
I
don't think we did any work with that, but anyway, that's different.
I don't think we did.
We were just mucking about. But I think we both said, because you said one of your dreams, because that's it, because I think I asked, because I was filming, like, Joe, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you said what you want to be. Do you remember what you said?
Yeah, and it really surprised me. It really surprised me. I think I said, I want to write jingles.
Yeah. Oh, sister calling now. Yeah, and for me, I actually said at the time on the video, I don't know, but whatever it is, I just want to be really good at it. I want to be great at it. And it just opened our minds. And I think this podcast was almost birthed then without us knowing it, because we didn't know we were going to do a podcast, and the podcast idea didn't even come until 2 years later. But I think it both got us thinking, like, we could do something. Like, we do things. We used to do things. And so it was really good to do it with you. And then that conference I went to, it was the Hillsong conference. And everything about that was weird, because, I know of Hillsong conference. I've been to Hillsong church. It's a massive church. It was a massive church worldwide, but the London branch. And it was the European conference. And the way that came about was somebody I know. I wanted to go to a conference, but I had no one to go with. I felt like I needed some input that year. And then a really good friend of mine said, oh, these two girls who I know, but we're not friends. Like, we're like more friendly acquaintances. So we get on. They said to her, oh, does Grace want to come to Hillsong conference with us? And it was like, that's weird. Because even then I thought, that's weird, but I do. Like, I go somewhere. So cool. And they're really nice girls and stuff. Like, yeah, brilliant. But I remember even being in your flat, and I think you were out the first night, and I'm like, God, why am I here? Like, because I wouldn't normally choose to go to Hillsong conference for whatever reason. It's like, it's going to be massive. I won't know people. It's not a social thing. I don't really know these girls. There must be a reason I'm here. And then the last day, there was a talk, and the two girls couldn't even go because they were matchmaking a friend. So they'd gone off. They said, oh, we're not going to be there that day. Is that all right? So I'm like, cool beans. Do you know what I mean? It's like, we're at the O2 in London. It'll be fun. And so I just sat there on my own, with 20,000 other people, but but the guy who spoke was a man called Erwin McManus, and the sermon title, for a better word, was "What do you want?" And I cried at the end, and when you don't even know why you're crying, I just knew that is speaking to me. Like, this talk being here right now, and it's good that I was on my own, is why I'm here. Because what do I want? So then I kind of went on the soul searchy thing, and I will fast forward, I won't keep breaking it all down, but over the next 2 years, it was like, I'd say to God, I'll do anything you want me to do, but I don't know, like, what do I want? And it just pretty much felt like God was saying, will you stop asking me what you want to do? What do you want to do? What do you want? And that made me really drill down to think, what do I want? You know what I mean? And my childhood dream, which I had buried for a long time, was to do radio or some sort of speaking. And it kind of ties in, like, I've always done some sort of public speaking, like whether at work or at church, or I don't mind talking to people. And it's like, but that seems frivolous just to talk. Not have a dream. You know what I mean? But I think us collaborating and doing this podcast was a start on, like, okay, the radio doesn't seem to be a thing, but we can do this. Do you know what I mean? And it's fun, and we're working together, and we're dreaming together, and it's brilliant. And so I've just stopped it there. I've just probably haven't finished the story. But that identifying what you want, I think things didn't really start to happen until I stopped. What is my dream? And then, even though I couldn't flesh out, it seemed so ridiculous but just doing whatever I could with what I had, and then the people I had, and and then everything's just gone mad, and things that I never even well, I conceived them, so that was the start, but it was literally conceiving, because like last year 2019 is the first year I've ever done a vision board. Never done it before. It sounded really woo and American. No offense, American. It's not that, but it was just like, oh, okay. But I did it, and like one of the photos is a photo that my sister took of me at Christmas 2018, and it was me outside the BBC in Birmingham. And I said, oh, can you take a photo of me, because I'd love to work here one day. Do you know what I mean? And so she took the snap, and that didn't even actually make my vision board. I had quite lofty things on it, but it was underneath. I didn't have enough space in the frame, so I stuck it down underneath. And less than a year later, I was doing my first show at the BBC with no connections to the BBC at all, and I'm like, oh, like and now I'm like, dreaming, bring it. Like, it's got to be bigger than that. And they always say dreams should be something that's out of your reach, isn't it? And then that made no sense. And us doing the podcast is one of the reasons, because another good friend, Elaine, must listen to the podcast, and then when the BBC was doing this talent search, so BBC New Voices, which I missed, and I listen to the BBC all the time, so I don't even know how I missed that, but she just sent me the link to it. She didn't even put a caption, just sent it. So when I sent back an emoji face of like, and then she said, maybe it's your life begins moment, and hot diggity dog, looks like it might be. So yeah, dream. I'm a big fan now. Vision board it up.
Yeah.
But I think
it's so true what you're saying about be careful who you tell your dreams to, because dreams are supposed to be big. You're not supposed to know how it's going to happen necessarily. I mean, I'm quite a pragmatic person. I like logical, concrete processes. So it's taken me a bit of a sort of change of mindset to sort of like put down some like huge dreams onto a vision board. I think I don't need to know how this is going to happen, and I think sometimes telling the people that are closest to you is not necessarily the right people, because whilst they do want the best for you, and it's not necessarily malicious or a jealousy thing or anything like that, if they're not in that mindset, they're thinking from a practical point of view, like, well, you know, how many people, you know, actually succeed in something like that, where you're going to get the money from and things like that. And you can have all those thoughts yourself, and it's probably taken a long time to like push those thoughts down and get to like this another plane of thinking. And somebody's reaction, like, oh right, like that, can absolutely bring you completely back down to all those doubts. I mean, if you can find somebody like we've had, like, that really champions your dreams, that is the best thing. But even if it's like people who might go, oh wow, that's interesting, it even just gives a bit of acceptance to the possibility of it. So I just think just like you know, if anything, if it's not the people that are close to you, then seek out people who are doing things towards their dreams they've started, and they might be the people that you sort of get that energy and sort of momentum from. And also before I think this might have been once we started the podcast, maybe, but certainly before the radio, like we both started to dabble. I think after the video that we saw, we thought, well, we've got to dabble in something, we don't know what it is. And we both had a little go at stand up and things like that. And I remember when we went to BBC Radio Theatre, and you were talking to, because we went to the show of, is it Alfie Moore?
Carry on.
And we were VIP guests, weren't we, because you had done stand up with him, and so he was saying, oh, is this your so he was saying, oh, is this your thing, is this what you're going into next? And you'd said, well, you know, I don't think this is my thing, but it's kind of opened a door to like some creative channel. So I think it's even if you can't immediately think and you're like, oh, what is my thing, what is my thing, you can just start doing different things and start trying different things and just get into that creative mindset and you know, just get on your way.
Not finding your thing, you know, it's part of identifying your dream. It's that identifying, when you've identified it, and it might be trial and error, do you know what I mean, but that's when you can focus on it. So like you said, we both did stand up, you know, once. and it's like, because my thing was, even if I reached the height, that what is the highest pinnacle of stand-up that I could think of, and at the time it was like Michael McIntyre. It's like, let's say tomorrow I'm the next Michael McIntyre, you know, insert comedian of your choice, and I don't want to do that. That's not my dream. I don't want to do it. I'm really glad I did the comedy thing. Most terrifying thing I have ever done, without a shadow of a doubt. But yeah, I don't want to do that. And I think because you got a microphone, you bought a mic, hadn't you? Like, to do stuff. And I bought a MacBook because I was going to make videos. I was going to do Vader, vlog everything. And Ange is still editing the podcast, as simple as that. So that's clearly not for me either. But that night, again, that was another key night in 2017, like after we watched Alfie Moore's show at BBC Radio Theatre with our VIP stuff, because we were the top 2 contributors. So even that was like, they wanted us to come back and do it. We watched them in a pub, didn't we? And then actually got them back to a Radio 4 recording, gold, by the way. And then we were just sat like in a pub like afterwards. I remember just drinking, like I had a carafe of red wine and just chatting. We were in central London in the week of an evening. I just come down for the night, literally, like on the train. And I just remember that moment as being like, yeah. And I remember like even hearing you talk, and I probably sounded the same to you, but you sounded alive. I remember that, like, that's the shell. That's like uni shell. Do you know what I mean? Like, we were both filled with some excitement. Yeah.
And we didn't know what it was. We just felt like we were on the edge of something. And I think with vision boards and talking about dreams, you sort of get yourself into a different plane. I don't know. Yeah.
And actually, I'd say that because that you're saying about, you know, we've been really blessed with each other. I think there's no doubt about that. I've been blessed by you. But if you can't identify someone like that, it's like the mentors you've never met. Do you know what I mean? Read a book like Terry Savelle Foy, who is a woman who is probably really far removed from my life. You know, she's this tiny Texan woman in America. You know, she might be a Trump supporter. I don't know, but that doesn't matter. But her books, this woman I've never met, have hugely inspired me, like about dreaming. Like, she's the one that's introduced vision boards to me, and dreaming. I am very grateful to that woman, and I'm just grateful that then I had you to talk about it in real life. Do you know what I mean? And we're both like, yes. You know, even if you can't think of someone in your circle who's like that, there are so many people out there. There's so many books, there's so much material about dreaming, and a lot of people are manifesting and all that sort of stuff. And like, get on that, and then you probably find people who do think like you, because I am finding more people now who it's just normal to them to actually. Crazy and Janae are a great example of that, and they've been on the podcast. They are proper dreamers and proper creators, and I just think they're a powerhouse of a couple, because I imagine, like, I know this is a bit fantasist, but almost they sat there every night like, so what are we going to dream about today, babes? You know what I mean? Simone, who are the other couple we've had on the podcast, they're the same. They talk about things. They put things out there where they want to be, and that's so powerful. So whether it's a friendship or whether it's a relationship, like a marital relationship, or whether it's just someone, a book, you know, like, focus.
Yeah. And the power of writing things down as well. I think this is true, but I've read before about Jim Carrey. Before he sort of hit it big time, he actually wrote himself a check for I think it was £10 million for acting services rendered, and he carried this around in his wallet for like 10 years or something, and then that was the check he received for his first big film or something. But yeah, I think even when we've had our small goals, sometimes a monthly goal of different things we're going to do, like, you know, sort of in terms of health and things like that. And I've just found that the months that I've written it down, I've kept to it, you know, whether that's kind of walking more or, you know, or sort of eating less chocolate, that kind of thing. But the months that I haven't written it down and I just thought, oh, I'll just keep it in my head, I haven't done it at all. So I think whether it's in pictures in the form of a vision board, where that image just starts to feel normal, starts to feel like your reality, or whether it's actually writing things down in a list or a journal or something, there's just definitely something really positive about getting those things onto paper somehow.
Definitely. And I think reviewing them too, because I think that's how the vision boards helped, because it's just there. Because I'm more of a writer than I am like image and vision. I journal, I've always journaled. But yeah, like you said, if you don't look back on it, like you might have written something on the 1st of January and then you won't look at it until the next 1st of January and it's like, oh. But yeah. Oh, but actually you just reminded me, because we just talked about identifying what your dream is, and a tool that I used, which was in 2017 actually, probably after our Alfie Moore thing, and it's from Terry Savelle Foy, I heard it from, but it said it's a task to do for 30 days, and it's like you imagine yourself at the end of the year. So it's a time specific type thing. So imagine it's the 31st of December. Now we're in December already, so let's say it's next 31st of December. So 31st of December 2021, and you're saying this has been the best year of my life. And it's like, write down the 10 things that would make it possible for you to say that 10 things you'd like to happen. It doesn't matter how practical or doable they are, but for you to say this has been the best year of my life, write the 10 things down. And then for every day for 30 days you do the same thing, but you don't look back what you put on the first day. So those 10 things might change, do you know what I mean? But the ones that are still consistently there are identifying the things that you really want. And I did that in 2017, and it was a really good thing, because actually, what am I consistently thinking? I would love that to happen at the end of this year. And I did it. And funny enough, at the end of 2017, I hadn't achieved one of those things. I think maybe one. And it was like, oh, but what was interesting, I thought I'd be devastated and think it was like crappy, you know, New Year's resolutions again. But I didn't feel like that at all. It was just like, okay. No one said what the time was. I said it. That wasn't it. 2018, without even thinking about it, loads of those were achieved. I looked and I was like, wow. That really blew my mind. 2019 was like, what's going on? You know what I mean? And it was like, oh, wow. You know, I haven't even looked back on it now. And there might even be more coming to the end of 2020. Even in this year, this year 2020, like, more things are happening. So I think that's it, but not curtailing yourself, I think, to time that much.
That is a good point. And not, like, you know, it's good to have a goal of trying to get things done, but actually it doesn't need to be a year, it doesn't need to be 6 months. It's and there's no need to sort of feel discouraged if you haven't done it within a certain time. I think release yourself from those kind of pressures, and you might find that there's different times in life when stuff just starts happening, you know, when you've been doing some groundwork, but it's, you know, maybe you're meeting the right people at that time, or, you know, things like that.
It's like I saw like a meme, but something on social media, and it's like, trust the timing of your life. And I think like, to make it more faith specific to me is God's timing for your life. And that's a lesson I've had to learn, because lots of times I've not trusted it. It's like, well, I'm behind, do you know what I mean? Or I could do this, or, you know, like, for example, to be in radio and media, like loads of people have started that when they were in their teens or early 20s. Like, it's something that they've started, and it's like, well, I've missed that boat. But then this is insane that I got a regular slot now at the B, like at this age.
That's a great point, Grace, because I love hearing those lists of people achieving certain things at a different point in life. Like I think you probably remember some of them, but it's to not think that, well, I didn't achieve this when I was in my 20s, so I'm too old to do this. There's loads of people. Can you think of any?
I think one of them, because I keep quoting it, I've quoted it to my friend Hannah as well, like quite a lot. But Vera Wang, I think, because she's like obviously known as a designer, wedding dress designer. She didn't start designing until she was like 43. That's not the time you start. And now she's synonymous with like amazing like couture wedding dresses. And then I think Mr. KFC, Mr. Kentucky, I think he didn't start that till he was in his 60s or something. There are lists, and we'll find them on social media to inspire you. Like, forget that. Shut the calendar out. Just do it. But again, on timing, like something that I heard a couple of years ago, it was a speaker called Rick Warren, and he said most people don't achieve dreams or goals, or whatever, because they overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they could do in 5 or 10. So it's basically saying, don't say I'm going to achieve these. So that 10 things list, I want them achieved by New Year's Eve next year. It's like, well, that's not realistic. But then if I set myself, say, a 10-year goal for that, I might have achieved them in 3. And it'd be like, because that's just give yourself scope to think about it. And so, yeah, you have to learn that, because we're impatient and it's too easy to compare yourself to other people and think that you're failing or that you're behind. And no, but you need to be reminded of that all the time. Like, all the time.
Yeah. And that'd be like we also mentioned in our existential episode, that there might be times where you're really unclear on your dreams and things, but don't give up, because it could just be the way that you're feeling, and another week you're back on it.
Yeah, because actually, do you remember, so it makes me, because we went to the podcast festival, so we went twice, and the first time we went was only 2 weeks after we conceived of doing a podcast at all. And then that's it, I went back to Birmingham, and you're like, mate, there's a podcast festival in like a couple of weeks' time, can you come down? And we went, and we hadn't even created the podcast yet. It was just literally an idea. That was in 2018, and it was great. And so when it rolled around again in 2019, and we went, it was like, well, we actually have a podcast now. Look at that. This time last year, we didn't have anything but an idea, a vapor. And this year, we've got one series of a podcast. So well done us. And we went to that commissioning like workshop. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, you get your podcast commissioned. And we were like, our podcast is brand spanking new, so we don't expect it. But let's see who wants to buy this wonderful podcast we've got. And then we went to the BBC. Who were the other 2 people that were there? Like Podfont,
I'm trying to think now.
Or Acast or something.
Acast.
Big like distributors and stuff. And then they basically said they just wanted podcasts for people from the ages of 16 to 35. And basically, for 35, you were like, oh, like they don't want us. I mean, because we had our business cards made up, we were ready to schmooze. And then it was like, should we just go and have some dinner? Fabulous lunch. We just left, because it's like, this ain't for us. And that was us thinking, BBC will be like, this is what we've been missing. This is what we want. But I'm really glad we just had lovely pizza and wine, like on one of the last sunny days of the year, like outside. That was fantastic. But then how things work, because the BBC in some way know about our podcast now, so
and they came knocking for you, Grace. They came knocking.
They knocked for me, they knocked for us, Shell. That's how I see it. So there we go. So yeah, so relax, have pizza and wine, don't sweat it. It'll all work out. Gosh, that was how to make you feel ancient in one easy step.
I know. And most of the people in the room were probably about our age as well. Just thinking,
I remember being in a queue to talk to one of the producers or whatever, and there were these 2 guys, really hip guys. I think they were like 19, and you can see them like looking past me, like, we want to talk to them.
Yeah.
Off you go, you old bint. It was just so
Yeah.
It'll work out.
Yeah. True.
Follow your dreams. Dream huge. Dream big.
Yeah.
Dream. Yeah. So yeah, closely tied in with dreams is goals.
Yeah.
Actually, in fact, I've just copied an image just today, just before we started recording. It seemed apt. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Okay, we'll put this image on there, like on our social media. Follow us on social media. Life Begins Podcast. Dreams stretch your imagination, and goals stretch you. Okay, so dreams stretch your imagination, and goals stretch you. I thought, oh.
I like that.
Yeah, so we've talked about stretching our imagination. In our theme of Advent, do you have three? Three. Do you have three goals that you might want to set yourself to stretch you? Stretch.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm glad you said that, because I was trying to think of 3 goals for next year, and I was actually finding it quite difficult, because I think normally I'd be really excited this time of year, because I love reflecting on the year and sort of planning for a new beginnings, a new start. And this year, I don't know if it's because of like the continuing uncertainty of next year, I haven't had that same excitement about planning. Not that I'm just thinking, oh, I'm not going to do anything then because I don't know what's happening, but I haven't had that same excitement. But the 3 goals that I thought about are more about the process than the outcome, and they are to some extent inspired by this enforced stepping off the hamster wheel of this year that we've had. So my first one, yeah, my first one, recently you were quite surprised to learn that I have a wetsuit and that I enjoy water sports.
Yes,
and yeah, and when we had that conversation, I was thinking, how did you not know that about me? But then I thought, actually, that's not surprising, because considering it's something I really enjoy, I hardly ever make any time for it. Just my wetsuit's lucky to have like an airing maybe about once a year or something. Yeah. So my goal is to wear my wetsuit 10 times next year, and you know, in the house doesn't count, it's got to be doing some sort of water sports, and I probably won't be starting till the spring because I'm not crazy, but yeah, one of my goals for next year is to wear my wetsuit 10 times doing some water sports.
Ooh, that's good. Yeah. That's very reasonable as well. Yeah, my first one, need to lose this chuffing weight. Do you know, I'm not saying like, you know, I'm not on like my 600-pound life. Do you know what I mean? It's not life threatening. But every year, every chuffing year, this is a goal. Like, and it's not happen. I just want to lose about 2 stone. It's not too much to ask. 2021 is the year. I'm saying it publicly now. I'm literally putting it out into the universe. I'm a very angry goal setter. It should be angry, but I'm so sick of it.
Write it down in capitals.
Shut up! Come on, just get on with it. Oh. I could be nice to myself in 2020 because it was, you know, turbulent.
Yes.
Let's say it would have been my year for that, but you know, I did other things this year, so whatever. Next year, that's one. That's my top one.
Yeah, yeah.
30 pounds, 2 stone, whatever. Get it off. Oh.
Oh. Yeah, so my second one, I've lived in London for almost 15 years now, and in that time I have been to quite a lot of the museums and galleries. Probably in the last 2 years maybe I've really neglected them, and there's some amazing galleries and all sorts of things in London, and one of the ones I used to really love going to was the Design Museum when it was really small, and it was over at Tower Bridge, And I remember when they announced that they're moving to a new big purpose-built building in Kensington, I thought, oh, I can't wait till it opens, can't wait till it opens. And over 4 years have passed now, and I haven't made it. So it should be actually a very achievable goal, but I haven't done it in 4 years. So I'm going to make the time to go to the newish design museum, and I've got a couple of other museums that I, have been on my list to try or to go back to. So yeah, that is another one of my goals. I'll be going to the design museum.
Hey,
yeah.
My second goal is to increase my flexibility. These are all quite physical goals, but that goal is part of a wider dream, which I'll share at another time. I'll tell you later, shall I? But no, I really do. So obviously for the longevity and health, I think you just got to an age now where it's like, actually, it'd be quite useful for your body to work how it should for the rest of your life. But yeah, I do want to work on that. That's part of the stuff. Yeah.
Oh, I'm looking forward to finding out more.
Yeah, so. Yeah. Oh. Actually, the keen that I have shared this goal with like Dream and others, but yeah. Oh no, that's another one I won't take up to. Carry on.
Oh, as I said, I was sort of finding this a bit difficult. So this third one is a bit of a stretch. Yeah. So I was saying in another episode that it took a whole national shutdown of the country to make me sit down and watch a short video on how to use an app called Adobe Draw, so that I could learn how to draw on the iPad, which is something I was wanting to do, but I just never got myself to sit down. And similarly, there is and I'm not sponsored by Adobe, but there's another program that I really, really want to learn. It's Adobe Illustrator. And I want to be able to, do another thing again that I enjoy, but I just don't find time to do it. And I want to produce illustrations, and at work I belong to something called the Institute of Making, which is like an open workshop that's got laser cutters which they cut and engrave in wood, and it's basically you don't sort of operate the machine, you create designs that the computer reads, so it kind of almost like reads a pattern from Adobe.
Have you used that before? I feel like you've done that before.
Yeah, I've kind of mostly watched my friend Claire do it.
Right. Yeah.
And she's kind of helped me do some little things. And so again, it's more of a kind of just taking time to sort of learn to do stuff that I really enjoy. And also, I'm just thinking, certainly this week I'm a little bit less clear on my dreams. So one thing that's been good about this kind of enforced kind of extra time from not going out is that I'm trying stuff out, because in my head I'm probably like a screenwriter, artist, illustrator, writer, all these things, but actually in reality are they things I can do? And I almost want to sort of eliminate them from my inquiries by actually trying some of these things and thinking, well, is this my thing? It was quite good, it was fun to do, but actually that's not my strength. And so all of those, mostly those goals are kind of about the process of doing stuff I enjoy and developing.
Brilliant. My third and final one, which is a bit wishy-washy, sure all experts are like, girl, this ain't it, but doesn't matter. I actually want to revisit my vision board, which I meant to do at the beginning of 2020, but then 2020 started off really fast and then stopped suddenly, and then I couldn't handle it. But to look at stuff, I just want to reevaluate some of those things, and maybe add some things. Just to dream big. It's part of it. You can set that as a goal to dream. That's what I'm doing. Oh, and I want to go to Scotland next year if it's open, and if we're
you might close the borders by then.
Right. Anything might happen.
Keep your germs out.
Yeah, I've kept it like here. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not abroad. I thought, well, let's not. Who knows what's going to happen? But hopefully we should be able to travel to Scotland, because I went last in 2000 and I loved it. And I was like, oh, I'll be back. 20 years ago, I've not been back. Darn it, let me go. I want to do
it.
Yeah, back to Scotland. Yeah.
Anywhere in particular?
No. No.
Scotland.
Yeah, no. Somewhere Highlandy. They got loads of that.
All that Highlandy stuff.
Where there's some hills and mountains, I think I can pick anywhere. No, Glasgow. I'd like to go to Glasgow. I went to Edinburgh when I went last, and it was beautiful. And people have told me Glasgow's amazing. I know you've been a few times.
Yeah.
Frequent flyer. Yeah, I'd like to go there and to do some mountainy stuff.
Nice, lovely.
And make it happen. So my friends I would travel with who were watching, including yourself, Shell. Make it happen. Yeah. I want to go to that house at the Nest that was in that show.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, that's a bit lovely. But yeah, let's say it. Let's put it out there. Yeah, there.
Yeah.
And we can go mountaineering from there, and then come back in a luxurious home. That'd be lovely.
Yeah, I like that. I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, that's cool. I'm excited all over again, actually, talking about that again.
Yeah, me too. And I'm looking forward to when we can do our regular sort of catch-ups, but yeah, no, it's it's amazing to have friends that you can share dreams with. And
Friendship Friday, I miss Friendship Friday. That was great. Yeah, but it's been good. I'm very put out there again, Shell. I'm very grateful for your friendship. I'm very grateful that I'm doing this with you. I'm very...
Yeah, right back at you, Grace.
Yeah, no, but really, I am. And so, yeah. So, yeah. And do you guys, like, what are your dreams? What are your goals? You can let us know if you want to put it out there. And comment, share, like, underneath this. We're on, like, Instagram, Facebook, Life Begins Podcast, or email us, podcast@gmail.com. Yeah.
I think that's right.
Yeah. Talk to us. Do you know what I mean? Send a pigeon. I don't know. I don't know. And we just encourage you to follow your dreams. And if you've really followed your dreams and you're just like, oh my gosh, this happened, let us know. Share it, because other people want to know as well and be encouraged stuff. So, yeah. That's cool. Any closing things, Shell, other than that?
No, just keep dreaming. Keep dreaming.
Oh. That was a terrible... Okay, bye. I am really, really tired. I pepped up and it's hit me again now. That's why I've lost my balance. So, yeah. Well, have a great week. And we'll be back for Advent 2.
Ooh.
Counting. Yeah, get the right way round. Yeah. Bye.
Bye.